Hey everyone, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums. I am back after my 2-day rest. I have uploaded some videos in between, go check them out, but now I'm back with the first album review of 2021, and I'm gonna be reviewing Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red. Now, before I start reviewing this album, though, I want to just spend a moment sort of commemorating the passing of MF Doom, which is a news I've heard 2 days ago, and I at first I was totally in shock. I didn't believe it. I thought it was fake news. I thought it was trolling, but turns out it's real. And apparently, MF Doom had passed away on October 31st, and his family decided to sort of keep that a secret for 2 months. I hope uh, his family and his wife had enough time for the grief. But yeah, it's really sad and really shocking. I mean, MF Doom was only 49, and someone this talented and this creative had so much potential, and it just really sucks to see him go like this. And it's actually kind of shocking because a few weeks ago, at around early December, I actually started listening to Rap Snitch Nicious, and I thought it was a really good track, and I put it on repeat many times, and it's just crazy that I didn't know when I was listening to the song that MF Doom had already been gone. So it's really shocking, and yeah, MF Doom had always been one of the most innovative, one of the most creative, and one of the most talented MCs. His wordplay, his flow is iconic. His lyricism is just full of great narrative details and nuances. If you haven't heard MF Doom's music at all, I highly suggest you to check it out. But now let's return to the album at hand, Playboi Carti Whole Lotta Red. So there has been a lot of hype surrounding this album, given how successful was Playboi Carti's last mixtape, Dyin. Not too long ago, Playboi Carti released the track Magnolia, which had taken the internet by storm with production from Pierre Bourne. And Magnolia is a fantastic track. It is moody, psychedelic, hypnagogic, extremely catchy and sweet, and the very energetic flows fit it amazingly, and I absolutely love that track. Afterwards, I think in the year 2018 or 2017. And Dial It was really successful in that it is a really simple album full of really simplistic instrumentals. And it's simplistic in a good way in that it makes the tracks feel more psychedelic, hypnotizing, and infectious. On top of that, Playboi Carti's very baby voice, energetic delivery, and his very short flows made it even more infectious and memorable. And so the entire internet is really hyped up for his latest album, Whole Lotta Red, and he finally dropped it right before 2020 ended, and it had gotten a lot of hate. Yeah, so Whole Lotta Red is an extremely polarizing album. The internet is almost divided 50-50. Half of everyone thought this album sucked, and half of everyone who listened to the album thought it's great. And I can kind of see why, because Playboi Carti kind of ventured to a new direction, to a more different direction on this album, where he goes for a more edgier aesthetic. Thus, the production is not as pristine, not as dreamy or as psychedelic, more bassy, more hard hitting, more distorted, and more rough. And yeah, in a way, I do appreciate Cardi changing gears. I really hate it if one person constantly does the same sound over and over again. However, the production quality on this album is just nowhere near Die Lit at all, in fact. Now, this album is 63 minutes long and it has 24 tracks. It is kind of bloated. There are a lot of very skippable and passable tracks on this album, in my opinion, even though there are some good moments here and there. The album starts off with Rockstar Made, with its distorted synths, hard hitting, bassy beats, and this track is just really, really repetitive, with Carti going never enough, never enough, never enough. It's kind of repetitive and not as exciting or as interesting as an opener as Long Time at all. This is not really that good. The second track is Go to the Moon featuring Kanye West, and Playboi Carti and Kanye West collab. Hell yeah, that would be amazing. However, on this track, it doesn't really impress me all that much. The beats are. I'll say this. I appreciate the fact that the beats are weird, but honestly, the beats on this track kind of unfitting. At first, it's this warped keyboards trap beat, which is pretty regular, and then moments before Kanye West hopped onto the track, it just abruptly changed into these really random strings, and it stayed like that for a majority of the track. And in a way, it's totally unfitting because Kanye West's delivery is very aggressive and energetic and shouty, and these strings completely do not match that. And then Carti hopped onto the track, and the moment Carti hopped onto the track just ends kind of abruptly, and it's kind of underwhelming, honestly. And also the way they rapped about success without much else on the track makes this track kind of one-dimensional. Next up, we have the track Stop Breathing, and this track is actually a highlight for me because this track is where Carti goes the hardest. His performance is extremely aggressive on this track, to a point where it's actually kind of entertaining and enjoyable. However, the beat of this track is once again super hard-hitting, super bassy, and extremely stagnant and lacking. It has no change whatsoever, and yeah, we have lyrics about how Carti thinks about homicide. Ever since his brother died, he has been thinking about homicide, and he sort of repeats that over and over and over again in a very blunt, angry way. And again, Carti is going for a very edgy aesthetic on this album, but very repetitive performances. Certainly not a thing that I want to hear. Up next, we have the track Beano, and it's a pretty poppy trap song. The beat is very scant. I do like the bubbly keyboards, but given how scant the beat is, it's pretty easy to forget about this track. And then we have the track Jump Out the House, which is one of the most annoying tracks, in my opinion, on this album. We get these cycling keyboards, and Carti, for a majority of the track, just raps jump out the house, jump out the house, jump out the house, jump out the house, jump out the house over and over and over again. And it's kind of annoying. I assume that Carti is trying to achieve this sort of anxiety inducing, stress inducing musical mood where it's like, oh my god, I need to jump out the house right now, but it just ends up sounding really obnoxious. Then we have the track Metamorphosis featuring Kid Cudi, and again, it's a pretty interesting collab with Carti rapping over Kid Cudi's hums, and certainly Kid Cudi did pretty well on this track. But what I can say is that Playboi Carti's really energetic and shouty delivery completely did not match Kid Cudi's really relaxing humming on this track, because the way Kid Cudi performed on this track is so much more moodier and relaxing, and it just does not match Carti's energy at all on this track. And then we have the track Slayer, which is pretty much your average generic trap rap song with a really basic beat and a really basic performance. The track No Sleep has these buzzy keyboards that are actually pretty refreshing and interesting sounding. And then we have lyrics where Carti says, when I go to sleep, I dream about murder, and he repeats this over and over and over again. And yeah, I guess singing and rapping about murder is cool, but it doesn't really amount to anything on this track. It's so blunt. Also, another complaint I have with this track is that it is simply too short. It is at 89 seconds, and even though it is 89 seconds long, this track still feels kind of long because it's very stagnant. It doesn't really progress much. We have the track New Tank, and it is kind of similar to Stop Breathing, except the performance is not as aggressive. And we also have the legendary line from Playboi Carti saying, they brought us some thoughts, they thought I was gay, which is pretty funny, not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, the beat is this really simple, bassy trap beat that's kinda generic. Then we have the track Teen X featuring Future, which is a track that the entire internet collectively hated for some reason. I actually do really love the nice, moody, smooth keyboards on this track. It's really nice. However, what's wrong with this track is not the instrumentals. Carti's performances are okay, but he does this baby voice thing again, and it's fine. In fact, it's one of his strongest selling points, but he does this so intensely on this track, it sort of takes away from that authenticity. And then we have the biggest problem with this track and many other tracks on the album as well. There's literally no progression. There are no differences between the verses or the choruses. The beat just stays the same over and over again. It's just one stagnant piece of track. The track Meh is a really scant bassy track, and Carti almost has a melodic flow on this track, which is really weird and confusing because it doesn't fit with the very hard-hitting and stiff beat at all. The track Vamp Anthem is actually pretty interesting sounding at first, with the very simple, spooky synth leads, which are mixed really, really roughly. However, the production is too thin on the track. We literally only have the synth leads, a really simple beat, and Carti on top, and that's it for this track. However, the good tracks finally start coming with the track New Neon, which is pretty cool. We get these very bright walls of echoey keyboards, and Carti actually rides on this beat really, really well with a lot of energy and personality. It's fantastic. And this track is followed up with Control, which is also a track that's kind of similar, and I kind of like it. It has these pulsating keyboards, a melodic flow, which really fits these very colorful keyboards, and also, girl, I've been losing control! Girl, I've been losing control! Which is, I guess, a pretty interesting add-on to the colors of this track. And then we have the track Punk Monk, where Carti rants about how his record label betrayed him by standing in between him and Pierre Bourne. That's why Pierre Bourne didn't produce that many tracks on this album. The beat is just okay. The lyrics, it's basically him ranting. The track On That Time has these menacing distorted keyboards, which is actually really great. This track is easily one of the best tracks on the entire album instrumental-wise. I just wish it's longer. Next up we have King Vamp, which is very forgettable and generic, pretty much your basic trap rap track. And the track Place is actually produced by Pierre Bourne, who's gonna come out here. I actually really like the very luxurious, sort of psychedelic swooshy keyboards on this track, but instead of being kind of woozy and dreamy, this track ended up feeling really dragged for some reason. And we also have the track Sky, which is actually really good. We get these very hypnagogic fluid synths, which is really nice, and there's more of a texture to the trap beat. There's this tickling sound on top of the hi-hat, which is really nice. And Carti actually sings on this track, and his singing on this track is actually not bad. I know. And then we have Over, where Carti continues to sing on this track. It's more of a pop trap track, and it's kind of generic. And we also have tracks like I Love You, I Hate You, and Die for Guy, which are both tracks about drug usage. The track I Love You, I Hate You has a pretty regular psychedelic instrumental that's kind of basic. And the next track, Die for Guy, has a really nice minimalistic moody trap beat, but again, it's short, it ended abruptly, and there's no change or progression in the instrumental at all. The track Not Playing has these fluid, warped beats, but once again, the production is very thin. However, the album's last track is its saving grace. I'm actually really surprised that the album ended this way. The last track is Feel Like Dying, and it's actually a soul trap rap. They actually sampled a soul song or a soulful R&B track with a trap beat on this track. And it actually worked. It actually sounds really interesting. And on top of that, we have Carti at his saddest, at his most downtrodden, at his most raw and bare bones, saying and singing, rapping that he feels like dying every day. And we also get a surprise feature from Bon Iver, Justin Vernon, out of everyone. Justin Vernon and Playboi Carti? What? And it actually works. And it actually sounds really emotional and, well, more personal than it is emotional. And it's a solid conclusion to the album. But still, even though there are some pretty damn good tracks here and there, I'll say that most of the tracks are really bland, kind of repetitive, and the worst of all, stagnant. It just doesn't have much in terms of progression or dynamic. So yeah, my favorite track here is probably Feel Like Dying, that or Sky. And my least favorite track here is probably Jump Out the House. I'm giving Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red a strong 4 to a light 5 out of 10. So, have you listened to the latest Playboi Carti album, Whole Lotta Red? From 1 to 10, how much you rate it? Like it, and subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching. I didn't fall asleep today until 8:40 a.m. in the morning. So, you can tell how fucked I am right now.